If an Adam Sandler character is meant to be taken seriously.
Meant to? Hey there.
Hey.
We're doing Uncut Gems today.
Yeah.
I saw it a few days ago. You saw it like a week ago.
Well, I saw it after you, so I know you saw.
Okay, so yeah, I saw it like a week ago.
So I saw it the day after you did.
The whole holiday has just been kind of a blur, guys. Okay,
Yeah. Happy New Year, by the way.
Happy New Year! First review of 2020 is the movie we saw last year. It's good. It's fine. So Uncut Gems from the Safdie brothers. I have not seen Good Time yet. I've heard very, very good things. I want to see it. I know it's on Amazon Prime right now, so easy to pull up if you got Prime. But yeah.
I feel like you're vamping a bit here.
Adam Sandler as a I don't even know what vamping means.
Like stalling for time on air.
I don't know. It's some context, I guess. I heard good things about it because Arpat's doing weird like underground movies now because he wants to be as far away from Twilight as possible.
I don't blame him.
So
yeah.
He plays a fucking gambling addict and also a jewel shop owner.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think I got more out of this than you did.
I didn't enjoy this movie.
Which I get.
Felt like a bunch of stupid decisions continuously. Adam Sandler is great in his role, I guess, for however unlikable the role is. I just really didn't enjoy the character. I didn't root for him. I saw one review which said, like, you empathize with him every step of the way.
I wouldn't go that far.
And I feel like that's if someone says that, I want you to ask them what they thought of Joker.
Oh, Lord.
And see if they thought that was an empathetic character.
At least I can say, like, Uncut Gems was consistent.
No, because, okay, so this dude was doing a top 10 of the year list. I forget which YouTube channel it was, but he was doing a top 10 of the year list. Number 10 was Uncut Gems, or like number 9. And he said that shit, and he kept working his way up. And
was number 1 Joker?
Number 1 was Joker, and I'm like, all right,
fuck you.
Shut it down. I'm done.
Fuck you.
Fucking stupid. It's not good.
It's not.
But like, okay, so what do you want?
Okay, so I get.
It's really well shot.
Okay,
it's well acted. I like the music. It's, again, another fucking movie that's really well made that just did not click for me. It's not as bad as something like Joker or
no, because at least I can see what this movie was going for, and I can see the point it's making. And I could see.
I enjoyed Joker. I enjoyed watching Joker more.
I'd say I enjoyed watching this more, but
like watching it. Well, because
we were both fucking angry as hell during.
Well, no, Joker did some real dumb shit, but at least it was a beautifully crafted movie. The music was really affecting. This movie is just all about like inducing anxiety.
Yeah,
and I appreciate that in movies sometimes.
Which is like, and yeah, like that's kind of what I liked about it, actually.
It's not that I didn't like it because that was its goal. It's just the way that it executed it. Usually when it's inducing anxiety, I like a main character that I can give a shit about.
Mm-hmm. So. And I can understand that too. I didn't really like the character either necessarily, but I was at the very least interested in the perspective because you mentioned this before too. Like, it's kind of like The Gambler without the gambler.
Yeah.
Kind of like The Gambler, which neither of us were particularly cared for.
Oh no, it was such a forgettable fucking movie. So,
but I think the big difference between that is, like, honestly, going back to the Joker comparison, I honestly thought this did a better, like, side-by-side parallel with the King of Comedy than the Joker did.
I still haven't seen King of Comedy, so I can't speak on that.
King of Comedy kind of does the same thing this does, where it plays up the trope of, like, this person wants to be famous, or this person wants to be rich, or this person is addicted to something, but the movie makes a point, like, no, they're an idiot from the very beginning, and that never changes through the entire film.
Okay.
Even, like, during their winning moments, he was like, no, this guy's clearly a moron.
Yeah.
Like, you're not supposed to, like... I can see the empathizing argument so much as, like, I felt like in anxiety when the gambling scenes were actually taking place, and you do feel like, you still kind of want it to win. You don't want him to win, but you kind of want the bet to go through, just to see if it could happen.
Let me ask this.
Go for it.
if he is such a fucking savant with making really unlikely bets that, you know, end up being on point, why is he so broke? Why is he at this point?
I didn't get the impression that he was supposed to be a savant. I just got the intention that he was just a compulsive.
Let's just go like full on. I'm not saying like savant in terms of like, you know, the autistic stereotype kind of thing.
No, I wasn't going with that angle either. I was like,
can we just go spoilers free?
Sure.
Yeah, fuck this movie. So it's the thing about it is that both times in the movie that he places a sporting bet, it's really unlikely. Nobody thinks it's gonna work, and both times he nails it, like every single point in the bet. So if he's that good at betting, why does he not have the money?
I would take that more as he's failed so many times. You fail upwards.
But twice, the only 2 times we see him do it in the movie, with huge amounts of money.
That's just something I'm willing, like one of those plot contrivances I'm willing to just...
Yeah, but that's the thing. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, if he's that into the sport and he understands it that well, and he places the money huge amounts both times, and both times it goes through, it works exactly right. Like, it means he's at least somewhat correct. It means that if he places bets on this stuff and gets like most of the stuff right, or, you know, places smaller bets, he would have a way of like working his way up. And I get that he's in for the big risk, big reward thing, because that's his addiction, but it doesn't make sense in that context. And in the same sense, like, he's got a fucking huge jewelry shop. Why is he selling these weird watches that he's got on the side that don't belong to him? How is he so in the hole with money? And he has all this fucking jewelry that belongs to him, that he can't pawn some of that stuff. Why is he using other people's money?
Easier to hide because it's already illegal, I would guess. I'm just guessing. At the end of the day, like, that stuff doesn't really bother me because that's not really what I'm focusing on. And I can understand why it bothered you. Why it bothered you. I
just feels stupid. It feels like he's making unnecessary risks and doing stupid things just because he's stupid. And on top of that, I really don't appreciate this random, super hot wish fulfillment girlfriend who is just
oh yeah, her
10 out of 10 banging. Like, you know,
I'll give you that one.
Yeah. Not to be like a perv or something, but the movie goes out of its way to show that she is like super fucking hot, dresses to the nines, is in the club. Like, when she's in the club with The Weeknd, he picks her as the girl that he wants to go with. Like, makes it a point that she is that tip-top desirable to, you know, people who have every woman in the world who dresses like that and wants to look like that accessible to them. She's the one who's in there. And also, I thought it was really funny how that scene in the bathroom with The Weeknd, clearly not The Weeknd in that scene, because it never shows his face in those moments. But so you have this woman who is 100% loyal to this guy, and he treats her like shit. He lets her live in his apartment and stuff, but he treats her like shit.
Yeah.
He speaks degradingly to her. He calls her fucking skank. He's just an asshole to her. What, does he have money? No, not really. I mean, he has a side apartment, sure, that's pretty nice, and he lets her live in it and stuff, but it's not like he's swimming in cash. And like, what is he offering her that makes her so loyal to him to the point where she's willing to risk her life for him at the end of the movie? You know, there's no point where she says, fuck this. She is actively with him all the way through, and she loves him. Like, what is the appeal here? And it feels like there's just this douchebag idiot risk taker who's dishonest and uses other people and has all the traits of an addict, where he just uses these things and pushes things further and further and just burns all of his fucking bridges to just, and he's a hothead. He gets in fucking fights in places where he shouldn't, where it's stupid to get into fights, and he just gets it to a point where, like, I don't understand why that girl is not treating him like his fucking wife does.
Yeah.
Because that is a much more understandable reaction to him.
Yeah.
And the fact that everyone in his life doesn't trust him and sees the kind of douchebag that he is, and the ones that take chances on him get fucking burned to the ground. Like those chances were not good chances. I just not only did I have a hard time rooting for this character, I just didn't like watching him do things. And every time he did something that was a stupid thing, I was just like, oh God, okay. One step deeper, fine. That's how this movie's gonna go. And there were some scenes in this movie that I did like. The scene in the car where he gets put in his trunk. Yeah. Like that whole scene leading up to it. I liked that. I thought that was cool and interesting. But I don't know. I just did not. I came out of the movie just feeling like, well, that all just happened. Great. Like, I didn't feel fulfilled. I didn't feel satisfied. And especially that last moment where he opens the door.
Yeah, and then just...
And, you know, to this guy who has clearly just been wanting to kill him for a long time.
Yeah.
And he has just completely degraded him and, like, literally let him sit there stewing in his own rage when he clearly has a loaded gun with him. And then is like, hey, everything's fine, and gets shot in the fucking face. Like, no, I don't fucking care. This is... It just felt so pointless to me. It really invoked the same kind of feelings I got from The Lighthouse, where I'm like, well, I guess, okay. Like, I
got more of this than I did The Lighthouse, personally speaking.
Yeah, I feel like The Lighthouse was a more interesting movie, just in terms of concept. Like, it tried to do cooler shit.
Yeah.
It definitely didn't carry the same tension that this did, but in the end, I felt the same kind of weird disconnection from these characters that I feel like people were supposed to connect with. Because they're just like these rogue men doing their own thing. Like, this guy's an idiot. Like, I don't fucking care. Watching him do stupid shit and abuse the people that trust him is not interesting to me.
Fair enough, and that's totally valid. I get that. For me, I think I was more interested in just seeing, like, in my opinion, this could be totally wrong, but a more accurate mindset of a gambling addict than the gambler.
That's a low bar.
It is a low bar.
The Gambler is like a 3 out of 10 movie. Like, it was bad. Okay, but like, can we like, for people who don't know.
Okay.
The Gambler was an extremely forgettable Mark Wahlberg film that came out a couple years ago. It was a remake of a movie. We didn't even know that, but the trailers made it seem like John Goodman was a big figure in the movie. He was just in it for like literally 3 minutes, and the whole movie is just he makes a bet, he loses the bet, he borrows some money to make more bets. He makes more bets, he loses those bets. He borrows more money, he looks all like gloomy and shit, like, you know, he's dark and mysterious, but he's just a fucking addict. He just gambles his money, and he keeps doing this cycle for the whole movie, and he don't give a shit about any of it, and at the very end, he makes a big bet, and he wins it, and he pays off his debts, and he walks away. And that's the whole movie. There's no characterization beyond that. Granted, I think this movie did a much better job of making a movie out of, you know, the concept of something like The Gambler, but in the end, I ultimately found it just as pointless.
Well, let me explain my reasoning here a bit.
I just wanted to talk about what The Gambler was, because I don't think people know what that was.
Well, comparing this movie to that movie, I think the main point I was trying to make is, like, The Gambler 1, you think Mark Wahlberg was like this cool, kind of suave. Like, that movie definitely tried to play a bit more the savant angle than I thought.
Fucking walking leather jacket.
Yeah.
Like, just...
yeah, he was. But this one, I feel like I found more interesting because it doesn't play out that angle. Definitely, but it's like, yeah, he is a loser. He does make stupid mistakes. He basically burns off any money he makes pretty much immediately. And then he keeps making stupid decisions again deeper in the hole. But he does it because and it goes in the character, but like, either you're fascinated by the mindset or you're not. And if you're not, you're going to hate this movie, which is totally valid. Well, but like, let me finish my thought before you go off. But like, so for me, this goes back to me having my own history and interest in the topic of addiction.
Same.
So, and like, for me, liked is a strong word, but interested in kind of just watching this actively impulsive, no self-control, always looking for the next high, and always thinking ways to get that next high. When he actually does it, and it's almost like almost an orgasmic experience. And watch him constantly seek that out, and like, not thinking, just acting in the moment to try to seek out that high again. I thought that was interesting. Now, if you're not on board for that, I get that.
I was kind of on board. I just felt like they didn't do anything with it.
I would disagree. I think they did. I think they like. I would say the ultimate, I guess, moral, for lack of a better term, would be even when you win, you still lose, because then it's just a self-destructive cycle that you build in, no matter how many times you do win.
Well. Okay, so let me highlight like why I felt like it was pointless.
Okay.
There were scenes of this movie that clearly had consequence. There were through lines to this movie of, the people he owed money to, the people he pissed off, all that stuff. But it seemed like some characters only existed to allow him chances to fuck up more. Like I forget which relative it was, but it was someone who was at the family, the Passover
auction
thing. Yeah, the one with the auction.
Yeah.
Like that dude literally just came into the movie long enough to help him bid on this stuff and fuck that up, and he's like, "All right, I'll get your money back. I'm sorry." And that was it. Granted, the way that scene played out, considering it was this huge build up to that scene, massive failure. Okay, I get it, but The one that stands out to me the most is when he goes to drop by the apartment when they're driving home with the family.
Yeah.
And he wants to go up and check to make sure his girlfriend's gone or whatever.
Yeah.
And his son wants to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
They go up and they ask the neighbor to use the bathroom. And his son gets into the neighbor's apartment, goes to the bathroom, he goes into his apartment, looks around, checks things, and then leaves. With his son. And his son basically overheard the neighbor talking about, Sandler's girlfriend. The hot girl living in there. Yeah. And the son basically finds out there that his dad's cheating on his mom.
Yeah.
That has no further consequence in the movie. It's just like, oh, look at this other damage he did. It really feels like the movie was padded out with all of this extra stuff that did not, it is
too long. I will give you that.
It's long, but on top of that, there was just like this other stuff that felt like it was just added in to do some kind of world building or add extra consequence to what he did, but it didn't really explore that stuff. The real consequence is the two women in his life.
Yeah.
And the person he owes money to, and the thugs. And outside of that, like the other people coming to him asking for money, like those funny looking dudes with the frizzy hair. They're brothers, I think.
Yeah.
But those two guys who are hounding him for money at the beginning, and then they come back around later on, and they kind of hound the girlfriend when she goes off into the other room. Like, why were those guys there?
I would say that may not necessarily contribute directly to like plot or consequences like that. But they do add to atmosphere. They do add to,
I suppose,
tension. It adds to the chaos that kind of self-destructive behavior kind of brings out.
Yeah.
So that's why I argue their purpose in the film is it doesn't directly tie into the plot in any like major way. It does contribute to the feeling of it, which I feel is more important than the plot contrivances overall. Because because I feel like this movie it's very much going for just the feeling of being in a gambler addict's head than having it and I'm not saying like
I know I didn't get anything out of that. It didn't add anything to the movie for me, and it really felt like the filmmakers thought they were being clever. But
it worked for me personally.
Okay,
so like
it just didn't click for me then.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like again, that's valid, and I understand completely where you're coming from. That was like I think I walked out of it too. Was like okay. I got what I wanted out of it, but I can totally see why somebody else wouldn't.
Yeah.
Because it's definitely it can be a very alienating movie. It's a very stressful movie.
It's all weirdly there's this feeling I have about it, which is kind of like how I felt about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh.
Which is I came out of that thinking, there are people, I can see how there will be people who think that this is Tarantino's worst movie.
Yeah.
And I can see how there will be people who think it's his best movie. And I think they're both completely valid takes.
Yeah, exactly.
And it really depends on what works for you. Now, granted, it's a really well-made movie. I liked how it was made, but I just felt like it had things in there that I just feel like they just didn't click together as well as they could have. And granted, it's going to do more for other people than it does for me, but generally just it wasn't for me.
Fair enough. And like, I think for me, it's like I had a lingering anxiety that lasted well after the movie was over, and a film that can produce that kind of a feeling in that kind of a visceral way is doing something right. So I have to give it credit, like, well, especially when that's what it's going for. That's again personal opinion.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I've said it plenty of times in these reviews. Part of reviewing a movie is, did the filmmakers achieve what they set out to achieve?
I would argue they did.
And I will agree that they did fill the movie front to back with a palpable sense of tension. And it does really get into how nihilistic and you know, fucked up and gritty that world is.
Yeah. And I did appreciate this also served as an active condemnation of the gambling lifestyle too. Yeah. Which I feel like you don't get enough of these kind of stories. I just like, oh, look how tortured this guy is because he gambles. Like, and like, no, he fucking died.
No, he's burning bright.
Idiot.
He's burning the candle at both ends, and it goes out spectacularly. And
so I appreciated that. I think it succeeded in the feeling it was going for. I think it succeeded in what it wanted to say. I think the acting was great all around.
Yeah.
So like, those are what I got out of it personally.
I feel like I agree with all of that. I just don't think they were trying to say much. And you know, it's almost like I appreciate, you know, they had the opening scene with the scene for, you know, the guy who was injured mining. And they had that one scene later with KG.
Yeah, who calls him out on...
Calls him out. He's like, you realize you just, you know, cheated these poor black people back in Africa.
Yeah.
To get this thing. Like, you paid them this much on this. And you don't see anything fucking wrong with that. You don't see that exploitation. And he turns it around like, everybody does it. I just did it well. And,
but again, I would consider the source on that.
Well, but that's the thing. That theme could have been more interesting.
It could have. Like, they could have developed that more. I agree.
But with the way that it was put in the movie, the scene where he gets called out on it
is immediately followed up by...
Well, it wouldn't lose any impact if they completely cut out that opening scene. That opening scene has no real significance in the movie.
I would say
I felt like it was going to do more with it. I think that's part of why I'm disappointed. It had all these things, and it felt like it was going to do more. It felt like it was going to be deeper. But I think that's part of my issue with this. It doesn't feel very deep. It's a very shallow movie. Very quick, like, hit the marks, mark to mark, go to the next thing. And there's not a lot of actual depth to it. Maybe
you could definitely make that argument. I can see where you're coming from.
I think that's the part that bothers me, is I felt like it was going to be more intense and in depth, but it felt very much like, felt very fast paced. I don't know that I have a problem with fast paced. The pace of the movie was, you know, it's gripping. But I feel like it missed out on some depth that it could have had along the way.
Fair enough. I can see that, and I can agree with that. That being said, for what it did and what it's, I still appreciate it for what it did do. Because to me, I agree. I would have liked to have seen those elements and those themes played out a bit more. That being said, I'm also not necessarily opposed to focusing on the theme that it wants to take the focus of, which is just, again, the self-destructive nature of it and the mindset that goes into it. Because again, I can't really think of many other movies or anything that really capture that well. Not off the top of my head, because even like a lot of gambling addict movies we play, it's kind of casual thing where it's like, oh, I just can't control myself, I keep gambling. Well, but really, it's like, and I appreciated a different take on it, where it's like, no, it's not just a passive thing; it's an active, like, ADD kind of just constantly looking for the next thing, rather than just, oh, it's something I do on weekends and I just lose a shit ton of money every time. It's like, I think it really explored, and again, to me, really explored the self-destructive nature of it, and I really appreciate the way it explored that.
I think gambling specifically, yes. However, as far as a movie about addiction goes...
Like, specifically gambling I'm talking about.
Yeah, but I think that the real heart of the movie, the thing that makes it resonate so much, is the fact that it's about addiction. Whether or not, like, whatever the nature of that addiction. And I think that's part of what is making it not quite that big of a deal for me, is that when you're talking about addiction, there's a lot to touch upon.
There is.
And this movie didn't really focus upon the... there are other movies that have tackled various kinds of addiction.
Yes.
In much deeper and, profound ways.
I'm sure. Yeah.
And this movie basically, it makes you like... This movie doesn't make you... get you in his head. You're pretty much just watching this guy do all this stuff, as opposed to...
I don't know. I kind of disagree.
Yeah.
At least I understood the highs and lows, or at least it could...
I mean, I understood them, but I feel like it doesn't really go to any length to make you empathize with this guy.
I mean, there's a difference between understanding somebody and empathizing with them.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I don't know. I just... It's not how I would like a story like that to be told.
And that's pure...
That's
perfectly fair. That's
pure feeling.
Taste.
It's pure feeling.
Yep.
But yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah. All that said, it's a good movie.
I just didn't fucking like it at all.
Yeah. And
I didn't enjoy it. I was unsatisfied by it. But I can totally see why a bunch of people like it. Yeah. So, great.
You cannot say the same about the Joker.
I will say this. I have not seen Good Time. I look forward to seeing Good Time. But I would really like to see these guys do more stuff.
Yeah, no, they're good filmmakers.
Yeah, I would like to see what they could do with, like, a bank heist thriller.
That'd be cool.
Like, I would... these guys
you
have
son
a
of
knack.
a bitch, I'm in.
Right? Like, these guys do have a knack for ratcheting up the tension and filming some really... It does feel gritty. It does feel like you are in these gross, grimy places. And I really would like to see these guys do more of like an action movie kind of thing.
That would be cool.
So yeah, I would like a thriller from these guys.
That would be fun.
Just maybe not this.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty much our thoughts about it. Take it as you will.
Yep.
Go watch it and make up your own mind. That's one of, 4 movies we still need to catch up on?
I don't know, man, at this point. I just want to go see Knives Out again.
Fair enough. Is that still playing? Yeah, it's still playing. Yeah.
No, it's doing real well.
Nice, thank God.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll finally get more movies like that. I miss those kind of movies.
Yeah.
Me and Howard are gonna go watch the Will Smith Pigeon movie tomorrow.
I want to see that.
Spies in Disguise.
I do want to see that.
You
it
can
looks
come
fun.
if you want.
I don't know if I'll have time, but
if you're free, you're more than welcome.
Oh no, I have a date tomorrow night. We're gonna go see Cats again. I'm gonna see Cats 4 times in theaters.
You've seen it a 3rd time?
Tomorrow's the 3rd time.
Wait, when's the 4th time?
Next week with another group of friends. We're gonna drink.
My God.
I am specifically trying to see it in theaters with as many different people as I can, because truly, the whole idea of being trapped with the movie is one thing, but watching other people watch it for the first time is a very special joy. So,
Have you seen the pitch meeting for that one?
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah.
So there's that, and I think me and Laura are gonna watch Little Women next week.
Oh, that looks real good too.
And then Bombshell may or may not happen at this point. I don't know.
That is supposed to be really good too, and not necessarily in a. It doesn't play it safe apparently.
Huh.
So
well, I know it's about Fox News. That already kind of puts me on guard.
Well, yeah, but anyway, yeah,
so,
it'll be fun.
Yeah, I think it's about all we got. You can have final thoughts for Uncut Gems.
Maybe if they cut this more, it would have been more of a gem.
Good night, everybody.